Good afternoon, my name is Dr. Gaga and today I will be examining this X-ray. At the shot at the bottom of the X-ray, we can see the opening of the short film, Soft, and in the opening we can see that the audience is already exposed to a different approach to a coming-of-age film. The difference to the ordinary film is that this film is partly shown through the camera of a low-quality phone camera. The phone has been used to show the story as it is conventional for teenagers within a coming-of-age film to own and use regularly. In this shot, there is a teenage male who is being viciously ganged up by a large group of friends after trying to run away from them all. The character in white is seen punching and kicking the powerless boy. The costumes visible in the shot are all conventional, as the majority of the characters are wearing school uniform. The bully in white is seen wearing a tracksuit, which is typical, as this often represents someone who is of a low-income household. He is portrayed to be unprofessional, and it also suggests how he may not attend school. Also worth mentioning is that the short film begins in the middle of conflict, which is done by various directors in order to save time of building an initial equilibrium point and heading straight into what the film will be based on. Located on the knee bone, we can also see another shot visible. The previous shot is cut to black and then cuts to a high-angle aerial shot of a community of households. This shot was purposely placed beside the previous shot of the gang to juxtapose their background of a lower status to these high-end, wealthy households. Also, there is little to none sound within this clip. It shows the environment to be safe and quiet. Gradually, the protagonist is seen exiting his car in a smart dress code. This represents him to be of the working class and intelligent. Located on the quad, we can also see another shot visible. In this mid-shot, there are various characters presented. The adult stood to the right of the screen has travelled from his house to the shops to obtain a bottle of milk. When he arrives, he realizes things aren't as easy as that. He is approached by the character in white again, seen in the first shot of the film, as he shouts at him to frighten him. The adult is seen to be intimidated by this, conforming to the idea that gang culture is an imminent threat to society. The costumes of the characters suggest that the teenagers are unemployed and not in school. Meanwhile, the adult has just come home from a shift at work. The character types in the short film follow the conventional ones of a coming-of-age film, as the gang can be seen playing the role of the bullies. This confrontation is introduced to the audience 3 minutes into the short film. This is conventional for a short film to introduce the disruption of the equilibrium early into the film, as it allows the film to focus on the hardships of the specific problem. Seen on the pelvis here, we can see a close-up shot of the adult's face, which is seen to be distraught from the past events which have occurred. This shows him to be weak and inferior to the gang, which have bullied him into rushing home. Visible, yet blurred, in the background of this shot are the gang. This shows the adult to be naive for not looking behind him to secure his safety. The blurred effect is used to show how the focus of the adult is on what is ahead of him, opposed to what is behind. It also is used to show how the gang is seen to be out of place when walking along a road which is rather decent-sized homes, opposed to the small houses which the audience may associate with them to live in. During the shot, the audience is able to hear the adult panting. This is a conventional sound which is incorporated within coming-of-age films, as it connotes rush and adrenaline, which teenagers often thrive upon. Seen on the arm of the X-ray, we can see a close-up of the father, which has been implemented into production again to display the household environment which the protagonist lives in. From this shot, the audience is able to establish a distant relationship between the father and son. Since he has returned from the shop, no eye contact has been made whatsoever, and conversation between the two characters is very limited. Furthermore, the absence of the female figure within the household confirms to the conventions of a family being single parent based. The mise-en-scène within the frame further suggests the ideology of households on the road they live on to be wealthy, due to their kitchen, which seems to be tidy and equipped with the latest technology. Seen on the skull of the X-ray, the frame from the short film is particularly important as it shows the dominance and intimidation which the gang carry with them as they follow the father home. When the neighbour who lives directly opposite the protagonist's house peeks out the window to see who is making a row outside, she is quickly shouted out by the character in white, who says, "What are you looking at?" while his friends cheer him on and laugh. At this part of the film, it becomes apparent that this group is led by the character in white, which could mean that some of these members have been peer pressured into hanging around with the wrong crowd. The leader is seen sitting on a car's bonnet, portraying his thuggish lifestyle. On the ribcage of the X-ray, a two-shot is displayed on screen to reveal the juxtaposition between the two characters' emotions. While the teenage boy's first instinct is to have the urge to respond to the gang's actions of damaging their car and throwing objects at their windows, his dad's approach is completely opposite. He tends to shy away from confrontation, telling his son to wait till they leave and that they are just trying to impress their friends. It also shows the similarities between the characters, as they both have visible scars on their faces from the attacks of the same gang. Seen on the other arm on the X-ray, a post-production edit is visible in the following shot by adding a fish lens effect to the footage. This has been done to illustrate the pressure and humiliation the father is facing when approaching the gang. It is also done to show how out of place the entire group is on the street again. The costumes are outlined of the gangs, where they are all wearing informal casual wear on a weekday immediately after school has finished. During this scene, there are swear words shouted to emphasize their informality and lack of etiquette.
Just that last line again.
During this scene, there are swear words shouted to emphasize their informality and lack of etiquette. Swear words are also conventional to be exchanged during a coming-of-age film, as teenagers often say these words. These chants are overlapped on each other to show a hectic environment which a protagonist is forced to face. Seen on the knee bone again, this low-angle mid-shot shows a very different side to the teenage boy, who is seen as fearful and weak during the opening minutes of the film. This particular moment is pivotal as it shows the exchange of power from one character to another. The teenage boy exits his house after his father has been attacked by the gang's leader with a cricket bat, where he begins to swing his bat aimlessly in hopes to scare off the group. Once he approaches the character in a white costume, he whacks his head with the bat, causing him to fall to the ground off of the car. Once he falls down, the shot of the low angle is cut to. This angle suggests the teenage boy to have gained authority within the situation, as the audience is having to look upwards from the camera's point of view to see him pointing his bat towards a gang member again. When following Prop's character theory, this boy can be assigned the role of the hero, as he has finally built up the courage to face the problem, which has been the bully stood outside head on. His facial expressions suggest aggression and commitment to cause serious harm. In the final shot located here, the final shot I have chosen to analyze is of the credit screen, where the text has been layered over an aerial shot of the street, which these past events have taken place on, which was shown at the start of the film. This repetition of frames has been shown to represent how the equilibrium shown at the point of the film, which this shot has been shown previously, has been restored, therefore eliminating the dilemma which has been faced. The text is shown on the right side of the screen, where it gradually comes to an end and cuts to a completely black screen, showing that the film has come to an end. In the second X-ray, which I have decided to analyze, we can see a shot at the bottom of the X-ray displayed here. And in this low angle mid shot, we are able to view from the character's point of view of what is happening. We are able to see his dad looking back at him while he is walking very angrily. This aggressive face follows the conventions of coming of age film, typically introduced a troubled relationship between the character and the parents. There have been a clear low angle shot used to show how the child within the film is inferior and is almost controlled by the father. Within the frame, the child is heard saying, "Dad, wait." This is a clear indication that the child is feeling neglected and forgotten, while the dad walks further. The use of the boy's soft-toned voice is heard to make the viewer feel sympathetic and help create an emotional bond with him. Seen in this frame, we can see that the distance between the father and son has gotten even further. This connotes how the relationship is not very close and don't pay much attention to each other. It also plays the child to be a burden to the father, opposed to being happy. The loud, non-direct sound played over the shot is used to show how hectic the setting of the child is in. This shows the parent to be irresponsible, as it is shown that there are people pushing each other around and being very forceful with each other. The chaotic and loud introduction of the film breaks Todorov's now-shift theory, as the film has not started from initial equilibrium point. After this shot is shown, it cuts to a complete black screen. In this shot next to the knee bone, we can see that it is a two-shot which is being cut to. We can see two men, and the man on the left shows a very concerned face, looking directly at the child. The concerned face shows how the child does not belong in this setting, and he is shocked that his parent has even took him to this parade. The man on the right is seen to be very intimidating and muscular, as he is taking up most of the camera shot, as well as him covering the character behind him. Seen on the other leg, next to the knee bone, we can see a mid-shot of the dad eating in a shop, and this has been used while the boy says, "Full English breakfast." Within the entirety of the film, the child is never heard forming a complete sentence. This shows his innocence and lack of education which is being provided. Any shot which is being used to only show his father is in black and white, which shows the dull life which he has learned to live with because of the film. The director has purposely done this to portray the father as the problem in the child's life. Also, the absence of the mother in the film is used to show the problems which arise when the father has to take care of the child. This shot over here shows an Asian man which is seen smiling while cutting meat in a butcher's store while listening to music. The smile on the male's face shows him to be quite brutal, as he is not one bit fazed by him cutting meat. However, vibrant colours have been used to portray his cheerful life, which contrasts greatly against the black and white animations used to show life from the little boy's perspective. On his right hand, we can see a high angle shot which is used to show the boy standing on the pavement. This is used as it portrays his insignificance and powerlessness, as the audience is looking down upon him. Also, as the page which the character has been drawn on is torn and he is standing next to it, it shows how he is right beside the danger. As the child is seen alone, it shows the father to be careless, as the boy is very young and is wandering the streets alone. Eventually, the short film comes to a title screen, and the short film opens with the word "my" appearing on screen, which looks like it has been cut out of a newspaper. The use of the newspaper is to represent the child's growth into adulthood, as newspapers are typically associated with older members of society. The contrast of the boy's soft, childlike voice is played over the shots to show that the film is set from his perspective. The use of the voiceover follows the conventions of a coming-of-age film, as non-diegetic voiceovers have been used often in this genre. Also, the short film starts instantly after the title appears on screen, word from word in different print forms. The black and white newspaper contrasts greatly against the bright blue background, which could connote the happiness of the child, which he should be experiencing. However, he isn't because of his father. Next to his shoulder, we can see a shot which the child is seen alone in a long shot through a window, and the shot of the screen is black, which represents how lonely and dull his life is. A multi-layered voiceover is used to show how his life is always hectic, and the voiceover is always linked to his dad, showing how it is his fault. He is heard saying, "My dad keeps me safe," which contrasts greatly against the dark colours on the screen, as well as the hesitant voice which he is saying. This follows the conventions of coming-of-age films, as it shows how the father and boy is struggling to make a connection. It also allows the audience to feel sympathetic towards the boy, as he is portrayed to be scared and alone. Seen towards the bottom of the ribcage of the X-ray, a long shot is used to show conflict between 3 males and 3 Asian males. One of the characters is seen pointing at another, which is used to show their aggression. This follows the conventions of coming-of-age film, including themes of violence. Cutaways of the father pointing at the newspaper are then used to show the link between the violence which is present in the shot and the child's dad, as part of the mise-en-scène. A knife becomes visible in a close-up shot. So towards the left shoulder of the person whose X-ray this is, the close-up shot of the boy in a little barber shop has been used to show how his life is like ordinary. However, as it is in black and white, it portrays his life to be very dull and boring. His dull life is due to his dad's prejudice towards Asian people within Britain, as he is seen to be following an EDL parade. On the other shoulder of the skeleton, we can see a long shot of the dad, which is used to show the aggression towards the police as he's pointing at one of the officers. This shows the dad to be the villain within the film as part of Propp's character theory. Binary opposites have been used to show the confidence of the father's face, whereas the boy is tilting backwards into the father's arms while holding his arms close to his chest. It is able to illustrate his innocence as well as the negligence treatment which is being given to him by his father. The page begins to tear to show the audience that is a real problem. Finally, at the last shot, we can see that the boy's face is finally being revealed, and we can see him crying while looking at the officers. This shows him to be innocent, and he is facing the consequences of his father's actions. He is heard saying, "My dad keeps me safe," while a close-up shot shows him crying, which shows the boy to be very loyal to his dad, even when he is not being treated properly, highlighting his innocence. So I have analysed 2 full X-rays. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.